Chapter 8. Battle of Ayers. As Roots caught sight of the Mark V's descent towards the moon, his gaze fixed on its blue frame, cutting through space. "You had the audacity to kill 2 of my comrades. I shall repay you in kind." Alice, friends are something to be cherished. If a friend is hurt, you must take revenge on the one who did it. Who are my close friends? Him, the person inside me. If he's a friend, I must protect him. If he is hurt, I must take revenge on the one who did it. The duty known as friendship. But is it okay to hurt other people for that sake? Alice. From the EXS Gundam, a meticulously aimed beam, fatal in intent, lanced out as a pale streak toward the Mark V. The clarity with which the beam was visible, Roots noted while observing the scene on his 360-degree monitor, was due to the dust from the previous 2 wars contaminating space. The dark blue mobile suit targeted by the EXS Gundam's reticle was bound to erupt in an explosion any moment. A scene vividly playing out in his mind. Inside the targeted Mark V's cockpit, Cod, having regained his composure from the frenzy of combat with the FAS team, methodically executed his routine work for lunar descent. Main back booster operational, shield booster jettisoned, he muttered, following the checklist, and pressed a button beside his seat. The mobile suit's shield, a piece of auxiliary armor used in battle, housed integrated auxiliary booster rockets, now depleted of propellant and serving as dead weight during this phase of descent. Cod jettisoned the shield through an explosive charge. Glancing at the right side of his 360-degree monitor, he watched the discarded shield spiraling away from his back. This coincided with Root's shot. Boom! The shield, which was about to fly past Cod, enveloped in blue light, vanished, leaving him gasping. What? The disintegrating fragments of the shield pelted the Mark V's armor, the impacts reverberating through the cockpit with a staccato rattle. Roots, equally astonished, watched as the dark blue mobile suit emerged from the minor explosion, unscathed and continuing its descent as if nothing had happened. Unable to grasp the situation, he uttered in awe, "Incredible." Alice, admiration for the target of revenge? Despite hating them so much, incomprehensible. There are too many things that don't make sense in war. There are too many things that don't make sense about humans. For machines, if there's no consistency in logic, that's a malfunction. An abnormality. But humans who wage war show no consistency in logic. War. Humans. Illogical. Abnormality. I was created to wage war. I was created to become human. If that's the case, do I have to become an abnormal person too? This is Roots. I've botched the interception. That bastard must have the Grim Reaper on his side. Give me the projected landing coordinates. We can't let him land, no matter what. Use nukes or whatever it takes. If he lands, it'll be a disaster. The predicted landing site is Lunar Surface Sector 11AA, coordinates 2580. At this rate, it'll be right behind our first wave of mobile suit descent troops. No nukes, it's too close to friendlies. Plus, there's the Antarctic Treaty, replied Mannings. Damn it, I should be the one to kill him. I'll do it. The EXS Gundam pivoted, positioning itself to pursue the Mark V towards the lunar surface. Most of Ayers City was built underground, yet some public areas emerged above the moon's surface, a consequence of the haphazard construction on top of the observation base. Among the domed structures, the central government dome towered in the city's heart, around which the city spanned a radius of approximately 30 kilometers. A lone mobile suit descended towards Ayers City's spaceport, located about 2 kilometers north of the dome. Enemy landing forces? The barrels of the GIM-3 rifles, belonging to the Spaceport Security Defense Force, aimed in unison at the descending flames. The incoming mobile suit, gradually taking on a humanoid shape, presented a silhouette distinctly different from the GM series primarily used by the subjugation forces. Hold your fire, it's an ally. It's Tosh Cray from the New Decides. It was a Zeonic-Corps. The security force lowered their rifle barrels. With a roar of flames beneath its feet, the Zwei touched down gracefully, belying its immense frame. I wish to speak with the mayor. Where is Mayor Pinefield? Cray asked impatiently, eager to bypass the suit's cool-down process. Sir, the mayor's in the government dome. You can take your mobile suit there using the underground tracks, replied the security forces' mobile suit commander, gesturing toward a tunnel at the edge of the spaceport. In simple terms, it was a subway, but it also served as a transport route to the mass driver's acceleration track. The mass driver, an electromagnetic catapult designed to launch lunar minerals into space, aiding in colony construction. Ayers City, originally an observation base and a forward base for colony construction, had the mass driver's acceleration track beginning not far from what was now the central government dome. The track extended approximately 8 km eastward beneath the lunar surface, emerging as a 4 km drum bridge-like structure. Materials to be launched were loaded onto pallets and accelerated to an escape velocity of 2,380 m. Soar more on the track. As the pallet reached the midpoint of the drum bridge, it separated from the rail and soared into space. After launch, the pallet descended from the drum bridge, decelerated on a parallel track, and re-entered the underground to prepare for the next launch. The launch rate was 1 pallet every 0.5 seconds. The launched materials drifted in orbit until they were captured by a mass catcher equipped with a massive Kevlar fiber bag, waiting at the target Lagrange point. The spaceport of Ayers City was built on the site of a former mining area, which is why it had a transport route to the mass driver. Cray maneuvered his cooled Zeonic-Corps onto the underground linear track. Placing the suit on a linear motor container car, the vehicle silently sped through the dark tunnel. In a mere 20 seconds, it arrived at the station beneath Ayers City's central government dome. The underground plaza, once a collection point for the mass driver's launched materials, had long been used as a heavy equipment storage area for the central government. Now, it had been hastily converted into a hangar for the Defense Force's mobile suits. Cray entrusted his Zwei to a mechanic and hurried to the mayor's office, guided by a staff member. The office door, made of genuine mahogany, evoked a sense of earth. The elderly staff member who had guided him knocked, and a somewhat high-pitched voice responded from inside. Directly across from the entrance, a large monitor displayed the lunar landscape. In front of it sat a desk made of genuine oak, where a large man in military attire was seated. It was Mayor Kaiser Pinefield. Your Excellency, I'm Tosh Cray from the New Decides. It's an honor to meet you. Pinefield rose, eyeing Cray. Welcome. So, you're the one from that alliance. Let's skip formalities. Shall we take a look at the current situation? Cray read the mayor's resolve behind his military attire. It was an old Earth Federation Forces dress uniform from the one-year war era, but it bore no rank insignia or medals. The mayor is prepared to fight as a soldier, Cray thought. Led by Pinefield, Cray headed to the administrative department, which now served as a temporary defense strategy headquarters. The monitors showed the city, with various colored lights blinking. These lights represent the defense forces, our citizen army, the mayor began explaining. Each unit is color-coded by age, experience, and background. For example, these white ones are your comrades commanding a unit of schoolchildren. The reds are veterans over 65, blues are former titans, and greens are young people with military experience. It's regrettable that children and the elderly must be mobilized, Cray remarked, his tone devoid of sarcasm. It's the will of Ayers' citizens, Pinefield replied, looking him in the eye. This battle is ours. For generations, we've been taught to serve Earth. If we fall, Earth no longer belongs to Earthnoids. Everyone knows this. Unfortunately, wars fought solely by professional soldiers ended in the 17th century of the old calendar. How long we can hold out with this force is unknown. But even if we fall here, the other lunar cities should carry on our will. Every citizen, young and old, male and female, is prepared to become a sacrificial pawn for that purpose. That is the spirit of Ayers. There's also a possibility that reinforcements may arrive from other cities before we fall. If things don't go as hoped, we'll join you. Your resolve is clear to me, Cray said with a smile. I appreciate the sentiment, but it won't work out that way. The mayor replied. Why is that? Cray asked. Our battle is different from those working for Earth. To us, Earth is sacred. We can never abandon this land or Earth's dominion. We don't need to change, nor do we want to. Spacenoids might say that Ayers City should be a tombstone for the space policy carried out by the old Earth Federation government. If so, I must be the one to guard that tomb. This battle is the unanimous will of the citizens of Ayers, but just like in the previous battle for the colony laser, it's my responsibility that the citizens have been involved to this extent. But you're different. You represent a question mark over the current Federation's policies. You mustn't perish here. Make the Federation feel your pain until the end. It's your job to tell them why we perished. You must not return to lunar soil with us. Your fall should be on Earth, he said, turning back to the monitor. Indeed, Ayers' demise might be fated in this era. A pure piece of Earth in space. The divide between spacenoids and Earthnoids is decisive, even with the concept of new types enabling perfect mutual understanding. To be honest, even if your Lunar City alliance succeeds, it's likely that soon, those favoring spacenoids will repeat our tragedy. Humans can't tolerate differing ideologies. Of course, we believe in our righteousness and think our cause is just, as do spacenoids. Only history will judge who was right. Understood. But we'll demonstrate Earthnoid's righteousness here. The Lunar City Alliance will succeed, Cray affirmed. Let's hope so. But if we fall... Pinefield traced a long line extending eastward from the outskirts of the city map displayed on the monitor. Cray immediately grasped his intention and voiced his concern. Will the deterioration be all right? It seems too dangerous. Pinefield nodded with certainty. With their agreement reached, the two delved into the specifics of the defense strategy, discussing and revising the plans. The mobile suit forces of the suppression team, despite facing staunch resistance in the first wave, gradually established a bridgehead with the second wave's descent. Nearly 50 mobile suit units, combining both waves, deployed in a line stretching from the south to the west side of Ayers City, initiating a siege. Meanwhile, the third wave, supported by 2 Zeta Plus units, continued its descent. Ensign offshore. The enemy is attempting to encircle the city. Let us attack now while we can, urged a subordinate. Although Offshore's White Force, in collaboration with other defense teams, inflicted substantial damage on the first wave of the descent team, they were overwhelmed by the sheer number of enemy mobile suits descending one after another. As the enemy solidified their bridgehead, Offshore ordered a retreat, a decision visibly frustrating the young soldiers. No, they outnumber us. If we engage them head-on, I'll be sending you to your pointless deaths, Offshore protested. We're not afraid to die. Please, let us fight, the young soldiers pleaded. It's not about fear. I don't want you to die in vain. If we must die, it should be at the right time and place. For the first time in his life, Offshore felt the responsibility of being entrusted with the lives of others. Even in the new decides, he had been given command of a unit, but all his comrades were skilled soldiers on par with himself. In contrast, The members of the White Force were immature boys who couldn't do anything without relying on him completely, inevitably heading towards their deaths in battle. They could hardly be called soldiers. The difference was far too great. While Offshore and his team were slowly retreating in search of an effective defensive position, the subjugation team's mobile suits units rapidly executed their deployment. When White Force reached a crater about 6 kilometers in diameter and set up a skirmish line along its rim, the subjugation team to the west and north of Ayers city completed their deployment and began advancing. They're coming. Don't panic even if the main camera is hit. The cockpit is below the caldera, so a hit to the mobile suit's head won't be fatal. Offshore instructed as the enemy approached the crater, their mobile suit units making small jumps. The enemy mobile suits, initially as small as fleas, grew to the size of rabbits in their view. Prepare to fire. The mobile suits quickly grew to the size of a shepherd dog. Fire! At Offshore's command, all mobile suits of White Force opened fire simultaneously. Several enemy mobile suits, caught mid-jump, were easily destroyed by the beams, causing the others to scatter and take cover on the lunar surface. "Damn it, there's a sniper unit hidden in the crater," shouted a pilot from the subjugation team, hunkering down in a novel Gym 3. "Where's the support? Call in that damn Gundam." Amid the shouts, a fierce exchange of beams between the two sides began. As a mobile suit raised its torso, it was pierced by a beam, while a mobile suit from White Force, peeking out from the caldera, was blown backward, its upper body obliterated. The crater's vicinity quickly descended into combat chaos. Meanwhile, COD's Mark V was in its final descent sequence. The flickering beams around lunar craters were clearly visible from above. "Damn, I didn't expect the enemy to invade this fast," COD cursed, helpless during the descent. The bleeding from his back teeth had stopped. The Mark V's descent was also detected at Ayers City's central government dome. A mobile suit emitting a friendly identification signal is descending. Its projected landing site is directly behind the enemy line currently engaged with White Force. Reported an operator to Cray. It must be Brave's Mark V. He probably thinks he's still in a friendly controlled area due to the unexpectedly fast enemy invasion. Provide conspicuous landing support for that mobile suit. Cray's order was promptly relayed to Offshore. "What, Lieutenant COD? Understood?" Acknowledging the order, Offshore rallied White Force. "Ours Gundam is descending behind the enemy. The pilot is my commander. He'll surely scatter the enemy. Put all your effort into supporting his landing." Hearing about ours Gundam, the young soldiers were thrilled. Their morale boosted. Gundam always stood for justice, especially with a new Decide squad leader piloting it. They felt invincible. As Mark V's descent flames became visible, White Force's covering fire intensified, aiding the Mark V's safe landing. "An enemy mobile suit has landed behind us." "Ha, just one unit? Let's crush it." The 143rd Mobile Suit Squadron, positioned at the far right flank of the suppression line, noticed the descent and turned to destroy the intruding suit. Then they saw a blue Gundam firmly positioned. That mobile suit. The Mark V's camera eyes glowed bright yellow, sending the pilots into a panic. Drawing its beam sabers, the Mark V charged at the terrified squadron. Overwhelmed by its presence, the mobile suits fell one by one to the Mark V's sabers, while those attempting to flee were targeted and destroyed by White Force. Caught off guard by the sudden, intense battle, the subjugation line watched as the Mark V soared over them with its thrusters blazing. By the time the subjugation team reacted and began firing at the jumping mobile suit, the Mark V had already vanished behind the caldera, joining White Force. "Josh, Lieutenant COD, you're safe." "Yeah, I took a few hits from the enemy's fire, but it's nothing serious. You did well, too. You have my gratitude." What's this? Your unit is all kids. The condition of the Mark V could hardly be described as having taken a few hits. Offshore couldn't believe the nerves it took to call that damage a few hits. But that was the kind of man brave Cod was. Sure, they're mostly children, Lieutenant, but their spirit is noble. They're worthy of your expectation. Well done with that covering fire earlier, praised by the new Decide's commander and the Gundam pilot. The young soldiers swelled with pride, murmuring excitedly, "Take it easy, everyone. Where's Tosh?" "Sir, Lieutenant Cray is at the Central Government Dome with Mayor Pinefield, overseeing defense strategy. As you can see, we can hold out until reinforcements arrive from other cities." Cod thought Offshore's statement was far too optimistic, considering the combat strength of the subjugation force. "Right. I'll head to the Central Government Dome. Stay strong." With that, the Mark V jumped toward the dome. Shortly after, beams streaked across the crater's sky, and 3 Jimmy eyes from White Force exploded. "Tex, Sigmund, don't let that blue one escape." The source of the beams was once again Roots in the EXS Gundam, who had formed a squadron with 2 Zeta Plus units to pursue, after receiving reports of the Mark V's appearance. "All units of White Force, give your all to support the Mark V," Offshore shouted, discerning the intentions of the passing EXS Gundam and Zeta Plus. He immediately made his ZQs jump, intending to snipe them. The difference in mobility is just too damn much. Offshore aligned the targeting reticle on the Zeta Plus at the formation's left wing and pressed the trigger button. It was just half a breath's time since the jump. Before he could confirm the results of his shot, the ZQ had landed back on the lunar surface. When Offshore looked back, he saw the Zeta Plus descending, scattering debris as it lost altitude. "They got Sigmund?" Wes cried out in despair. "It's just a hit. He ain't dead. Stop looking around and kill that guy," Roots retorted, his eyes fixed solely on the Mark V. At that moment, a fierce barrage from the Central Government Dome's defense forces was unleashed upon the 2 mobile suits. "Rio, if we press any further, we're the ones who'll die." "Shut up, damn it." "Alice, they're going to kill us?" "He's trying to charge in. I have to protect him. I have to make him turn back." At that moment, the EXS Gundam, while masterfully evading the fire from the lunar surface, began to reverse and withdraw. "What the?" Roots had no intention of retreating. The EXS Gundam moved on its own. He was thrown into confusion, losing all control over the mobile suit. Wes and the Zeta Plus assumed that Roots had decided to abandon the pursuit and followed the EXS Gundam in retreat. In the meantime, the Mark V, protected by a dense defensive fire line, slipped into the heavy machinery loading hatch of the Central Government Dome and vanished from sight. "Damn it, we let him get away." "You fucking whore," Roots cursed at his unresponsive machine. "Alice." "Whore, whore, whore. Is it wrong to save a life?" "No, no, no. Exchanging your own life for someone else's is completely meaningless. You are wrong. Or am I the one who's wrong? Is it a sin to judge everything by common sense? Isn't it also a sin to keep denying? Could it be that for humans, there is meaning in meaninglessness? The balance between affirmation and denial. Is that emotion? Is that human?" Roots pounded his fist against the cockpit panel and clicked his tongue in frustration. He had no way of knowing that a profound change had occurred within the S Gundam's secondary consciousness, causing it to make judgments based on its own self-determined criteria. March 17th marked the end of the first day of the battle for Ayers City. In the days that followed, the fighting around the city grew increasingly intense. Alongside this, Tosh Cray's political appeal to other lunar cities grew more aggressive. Facing overwhelming enemy forces, Ayers City's defense forces, mostly amateurs, fought valiantly, supported by a handful of new Decide soldiers. However, by the end of the week, Ayers city's territory had shrunk to an area less than 10 kilometers in radius from the central government dome. Outer defense line of Sector 36 has been breached. What's Red Team in Sector 2 doing? Redeploy Green Team to Sector 18. Green was wiped out ages ago. Shouts and commands crisscrossed the operations command room inside the central government dome. The battle's progress was constantly updated on the wall monitors. Mayor Pinefield watched silently as the green lines representing defense forces were increasingly pressured by the red lines of the subjugation team. His face was already as pale as a sick man's from exhaustion. "Sir, I will order the units with attrition rates above 30% to withdraw and regroup." Cray, who had been serving tirelessly as a strategist for days, suggested, his face marked by physical and mental exhaustion. "Still no word from the other cities?" the mayor murmured, contemplating the futility of uniting lunar cities to form a government. Then, an operator exclaimed excitedly, "We've intercepted a protest statement from Von Braun City to the Earth Federation." Is it a protest with the threat of force? For a moment, fatigue vanished from Pinefield's face. "No, sir. Like the other cities, it's a call for economic sanctions. They protest, but are not willing to actively ally with us." Despair filled the operator's voice. All lunar cities had responded. They would protest, but not provide assistance. Pinefield's expression darkened again. So it was futile. "Lieutenant Cray, you've worked hard. Your vision to unite Lunarians, or rather Spacenoids, wasn't realistic. Whether seeking autonomy or independence, we're still politically and economically dependent on Earth. In the end, we're just trying to curry favor with Earth. Humanity still can't live without Earth. The victor of Earth is still perceived as righteous. I wanted to confirm this. It's both satisfying and sad. The price paid to understand this might have been too great. Spacenoids' consciousness isn't inherently superior to Earthnoids. No matter how much we struggle, in the end, we are all human. If consciousness is the measure, those living on Earth might have a higher one. After all, the concept of new types emerged from Earthnoids who aspired to live in space. But once living in space, they felt like new types by default, ceasing to strive further. It is the people under gravity who truly yearn for a change in consciousness and strive to change. The only ones not making that effort are a handful of politicians. Spacenoids claim that new types can't be born in a gravity well, binding souls to complacency. This is despite the fact that they are a part of the people of Earth. Of course, this is nothing more than reverse discrimination. However, I believe that it is the current Spacenoids who are doing nothing, who have given up on ascending to the next stage. We bear the role of making those who have advocated for the transformation of humanity think once again. That is why we must perish. As a stepping stone for humanity. You've thought that far ahead. Yes, it's true that Spacenoids seem to use Earth merely as a yardstick for human consciousness. Earth is old, they say. Such reverse discrimination is an inversion of envy towards Earth. Unlike our ancestors and people like you, who were born on Earth but were unable to see or return to it for a long time, Spacenoids can't straightforwardly say that they envy Earth. Why rush innovation? Spacenoids don't grasp the difference between changing and being changed. We aim to change, not to be changed. Earth versus space, gravity versus weightlessness, limitation versus freedom. What a childish comparative structure. The narrow-mindedness of Spacenoids will eventually spark new conflicts. Changing can be quick, but being changed takes time. When they realize this, I will mock them from the afterlife, seeing how they respond and what kind of human living space they build. Those who were born in space and have sucked the lifeblood of so many humans until now. Are you mocking them? Pinefield and Cray exchange smiles. We're not dead yet. We'll fight to the very end, sir. We'll make them suffer a bit more. To do that, we should break this siege. Execute that plan. We'll spare no support. Thus, A.E.U.G decides its escape operation from Ayers City, on the brink of its final moments, was about to commence on March 24th.